My name is Ben Mack. I'm a chef and I'm on a journey to discover ethical Australian farmers. I want to introduce you to local producers, tell you their stories, and then go back to the kitchen to cook with their produce. We've travelled 45 minutes northwest of Melbourne and arrived in Sunbury. We're about to go and visit John Lakey from Raymond Farm.
My name is John Lakey. My family have been farming at Sunbury for 70 years, and our farm is called Raymond. And my business I've called Raymond after my family's farm. We're a mixed farm. We have a small vineyard planted in the 80s. As well as that, we do some cropping and we graze goats, cattle and sheep and run some poultry, but that's mainly domestic for the house. What we're interested in is trying to maximise pasture resources, and by using a mixture of grazing animals, they all eat slightly different grasses and forbs in the pasture, and so as a consequence you can actually run 120, 130% of your grazing because they graze different aspects and they graze the entire pasture down. Many farmers, and I think, Ben, you made the point that I'm a grass farmer, not a grazier. The difference is that I'm not fattening animals, I'm grazing and managing a pasture resource. On top of that, because of the way we manage our pastures, we think these animals have really good depth of flavour. And that's what we're more and more interested in, is saying, well, look, how can we farm so we get these wines that we really like? How can we farm so we get the same characteristics coming through in meat production? And that's why we're more interested now in looking at native grasses, not just because they're native and they're adapted to these sites, but because they're diverse and they provide a range of flavours which come through in the final product that we're selling, which will be some form of meat. I think success to me would be watching a whole lot of native grasses and forbs come through each spring. To get the native grass picture, I need to have the meat business and the wine business working properly in the background. I mean, I read Sun on the Stubble as a kid, and I loved the fact that they've got goannas, they've got possums, they've got all these wild animals, native animals around in their farms. Whereas growing up here, this had been grazed, it'd only be lightly wooded with mainly acacias, and grazing destroyed any regrowth. So there were virtually no trees on the place. Having success then is going to be where I have a vibrant ecosystem, not just a museum piece of trees and grasses. I want to see the native animals there, right, and have a farm running, coexisting side by side. My wife is a chef. Because she's so busy, she often slow cooks. And we end up with the secondary cuts. And whether you want to call them a cassoulet or a ragu or a stew, it's up to you really. And then just working the flavour out of the meat, so the meat falls off the bone. And you get these very rich sauces with usually a bit of our wine chucked in there as well.
I really love John's idea about doing a slow cook. So we're going to use beef cheek and do it in a braise, low and slow, so it comes out tender and juicy. So to do this braise, we're going to use a heavy set pot. Try to use something with a really thick base and something that can go in the oven. You want to start off by caramelizing the beef cheeks until you get a nice golden brown colour on both sides. Then you want to add some onions and carrot, followed by a healthy splash of red wine. This one's really great because Raymond produces both the beef and the wine, keeping it super local. Then chuck a lid on it and put it in an oven at about 160 degrees for 3 to 4 hours. We're using celeriac in this dish, which is part of the celery family, but creamier and richer. We're simply going to roast this with a bit of olive oil and salt and let all of those natural flavours shine. Once golden, just pull out of the oven and then tear it up into nice big chunks using a spoon. To finish the dish, we're going to make a medjool date chutney. Now these dates are naturally sweet, and with a little bit of shallot, parsley and lemon juice, it brings that well-needed hit of sugar and acidity to balance out that earthy celeriac and deliciously rich braised beef cheek. After around 3 to 4 hours, the beef should be cooked. Pull it out of the stock and you'll see that it's so juicy and tender. What we're going to do now is make a sauce using that braising liquid. You want to strain off all of the aromats from the stock until you've just got the liquid left. Whisk a little bit of corn flour with cold water and then add it very slowly to the boiling stock. This will turn into a nice rich gravy. Then add the beef cheeks back into the gravy and baste so that you get a nice rich coating around the beef cheeks. Head over to the website to find out more about our producers and to get the recipes for our dishes.